Here's the man. He's coming after that starts speaking. Okay. All right. Deb, you have a jacket? Give me. Come in. Oh, we got jackets? Give some jackets. Give some jackets on it. Yes.
What do we want?
Equal pay! Now! What do we want? Equal pay! Where do we want it? Now!
Welcome to the 18th annual New York City Equal Pay Day Rally. I'm Bev Neufeld, founder and president of Power New York, and we've been gathering here since 2007.
Yes.
In 2007, we were a handful of women wearing red and seeing red because women are still in the red. And now, look at us. We are a successful, active, dynamic movement changing the wage gap and changing the lives of women. We are so excited to be here with some of our leaders. With some of our leaders, and we're especially happy to see Mayor Adams. Thank you, Mayor Adams, for being with us this morning. Of course, New York State Attorney General Letitia James. We have Speaker Adrienne Adams. Do we have Council Member Sylvina Brooks Powers?
Yes.
Where are you there? Yeah. Great. We have our caucus chairs, Carmen De La Rosa and Julie Menon. And we'll be hearing from also Sigrid Quato shortly and Lou Carrigan. So that's our lineup. But of course, the woman of the hour here, we have Gloria Middleton. Local 1180. We've been doing this for about 5 years, Gloria, right? There you go. We also want to acknowledge some of the wonderful women who are here with the mayor's office. I think we have First Deputy Mayor Sheena Wright. Do you see over there Maria Torres Springer? Deputy Mayor Anna Almanzar. Chief Advisor Ingrid Lewis Martin. Camille Joseph Lavarek. And we have the Commission on Gender Equity here as well. So we have so many of our officials, women officials, are moving New York City forward. We also have here in the house, we have the Power Network, SAG-AFTRA's in the house, Balance, Women Creating Change, Amplifier Foundation, Now New York State, and more. They represent just a few of the over 100 organizations that are working on gender equity in New York through Power. And online, we are joined by thousands of advocates online today who are rallying on a virtual rally. We've been doing this for 2 decades, so how are we doing? Well, the good news, we're still here. Well, the good news is New York is number 3 with the smallest wage gap in the United States. The bad news is that wage gap of 88 cents reflects at least $11,000 a year of lost wages for the average woman and up to $34,000 a year if you're a woman of color. That is absolutely unacceptable. And that's why we gather from year to year. So we've done a lot. New York State should be so proud of what we've accomplished. We ended the salary history questions. We protect workers to talk about their pay. We are now, every job posting requires a salary range. And in New York City, they are analyzing the equal pay data for New York City workers. That is phenomenal. It's all great, but the wage gap persists. So on this Equal Pay Day, we need to pledge to do more. We want to value the hard work of our caregivers, strengthen our wage transparency laws, hold business and government accountable for some faulty practices, and we want to ensure that women and people of color have their fair share of the high-paying economic growth jobs in New York State. And lastly, we need to change our mindset. Equal pay for equal work is great, but we need to change it to equal pay for work of equal value. And when we do that, we will close the wage gap. That is a tall order that I just ran off for, but in partnership with these organizations, our great leaders, we can and will make transformative change in the lives of New York women. And when we affect New York women, we're affecting families, and we're affecting our community. So now I turn it over to our CWA Local Levy President, Lori Middleton.
Thank you, Bev, for that introduction. Communication Workers of America's Local 1180 represents almost 9,000 active members working in New York City mayoral agencies, H&H, the Board of Education, Housing, Transit, School Construction Authority, and dozens of other private sector nonprofits. My members are predominantly women and women of color who work alongside men as administrative managers, principal administrative associates, coordinating managers, assistant directors, and many other titles. For years, we have known that women typically earn less than their white male counterparts, doing substantially similar work. We have fought to make women's salaries equal. We have worked with city and state legislators to pass legislation preventing unequal pay based on gender, race, or religion, and we have been the leading outspoken New York City labor union to continually send a message that salaries should be based predominantly on education and experience. Yes? Yes! And that is why we are here today, on the steps of City Hall in what is now the 18th annual Equal Pay Day rally to call attention to the ongoing gross salary inequities. The gender pay gap, the difference between the earnings of men and women, has barely closed in the United States in the past 2 decades. Women's contributions to the labor movement remain undervalued, despite the fact women make up nearly half of the U.S. workforce. On average, women working full-time, year-round, are paid approximately 88% of what men are paid. That's 88 cents on the dollar. And this inequity is even greater for Black women, whose Equal Pay Day is July 9th this year, and Hispanic women, whose Equal Pay Day is October 3rd. In 2019, after working closely with the city council, Local Law 18 went into effect, requiring DCAS, Department of Citywide Administrative Services, to collect data from agencies relevant to pay and employment of the city's municipal workforce every year and make this data available to the mayor's office of data analytics. The real objective was to pinpoint which city agencies were not paying salaries equally amongst the genders, were failing in promoting women and people of color, and to create pipelines that would enable minorities and women to achieve the highest paying positions in city government, positions traditionally denied to them. Now, 5 years later, we are asking to have Local Law 18 strengthened. We now have been discussing with legislative staff the creation of a high school-based program that will lead to more candidates entering the civil service system and a CUNY-based system with educational paths fulfilling the requirements for higher paying positions. We would like to put more teeth to the data the data analysis required under Local Law 18 by forcing agencies to develop plans that self-correct their failures in reducing pay disparity and market to women and minorities for open top positions. We are also calling on both the city and state to revise the salary range law that requires all New York businesses and government to list a realistic minimum and maximum salary for every open position in the state. In the past few months alone, it has been brought to my attention that the New York-based jobs posted on both LinkedIn and Indeed, for example, either had no salary range listed at all or listed unrealistic minimums and maximums. One job posted a pay range of $64,922 to $173,486. Really? That is a spread of close to 3 times the difference between the minimum and the maximum, and it's not a fair pay range. This is not the only example either. Companies seem to be abiding by the wording of the law, but not the intent. And we intend to address this problem now. We have come so far in the fight for pay equity. Yet in 2024, this is a conversation we should not be having anymore. In the year 2024, there is no reason that a woman must work until March 12th to earn what a man earned by December 31st of the year before. No reason. Thank you all for coming and joining us in our continued fight for pay equity. However, I hope not to see any of you next year. Not because we don't appreciate your diligence to cover this important topic, but because we won't need you to as pay inequalities will no longer exist. At this time, I have the pleasure of introducing a man who needs no introduction. Look at that view. Our illustrious mayor, a man who understands that pay inequity is a huge problem in the city and state of New York. A man who earlier this year unveiled a $43 million plan to lead on gender equity and laid out ambitious and much needed goals to make New York City the most women-forwarded city in the United States and a leader who values having knowledgeable women in the workforce. And he leads by example. First of all, let me say thank you, Mayor, for joining us. He is the first mayor in the 6 years that we've been doing it, I don't know about your 18, that a mayor has showed up for this event. He's the first mayor that every time you see him on TV, he is surrounded by a staff of women. He gets it. Yes. And I am so glad to introduce our mayor, the illustrious Eric Adams.
Thank you so much, Madam President. And I am going to speak less so women can be paid more. This is a women's rally, and I'm not going to get in the way. This is not new for me. And, you know, I can recall mommy making her way home from Amstead Daycare Center as a food service worker and a shop steward. I'm not making enough to provide for my 5 siblings and me. I recall my sister frustrated after years working in the bank, doing the work and having her a white supervisor, having all the benefits and watching young people come in and going over her over and over again. That frustration was real. And that frustration is not only economically impactful on you. Trust me when I tell you, when you're working more, getting less, that's an emotional toll on you as well. It leads to some of the physical ailments that you have, because what impacts you emotionally impacts you physically as well. And so years of this abuse, trust me, is connected to some of the healthcare crises that we are facing, and we often ignore that. And this is not my first journey. This is not my first time at the rodeo. When then Public Advocate James did a study on how we are paying women in the workplace, she found that my office as a Brooklyn Borough president, I was paying women 14% higher than men back then. So when I came here to City Hall and talked about a women's agenda, who am I to sit down and write that agenda? I went to my 5 deputy mayors, who are women, and said, create that agenda for me. Tell me what we need to do with our women forward agenda. How do we decrease the cost of child care? How do we make sure we have a real healthcare system? Because it's more than equality in pay. It's an equality in every sector of our society. That inequality exists, folks. Don't get it wrong. There was a major study done once where they took a musician in an orchestra and they no longer look at the visualization of the person that's playing. They put them behind the curtain so that we can have an unbiased approach on who you're going to pick to play the instrument. When they couldn't see that it was a man or a woman, there was a higher proportion of women being chosen. We come in with biases. We look at the description of people in front of us, and we believe they're qualified based on their gender and ethnicity, not based on their quality and what they produce. That's what we want to change. That's why this is so important. That's why 6 mayors later, you have a mayor here who's part of and the president of the Men Who Gets It Club. I'm the president of that club. I get it. It's so important, and we're seeing it. You hear it from the lead speaker as she talks about the women agenda over and over again. You hear it from our Attorney General. You hear it all across. This is the time, if we're ever going to dismantle the unfairness of what we are doing, not only in government, but in private industry, this is the window of opportunity. We're not going backwards. We are going to make it happen, and I'm proud to be a member of that club, Men Who Gets It. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay. All right.
I really thank you, CWA 1180. It's consistent.
You got it.
Okay.
Thank you, Mayor Adams, for being with us this morning and for being with us all year long as we work toward equal pay in New York City. Now I have the pleasure to introduce someone who is not new to Equal Pay Day rallies. She has been here at least since 2008 when I met you inside, and we said, we had an idea, and then Councilmember Jane says, well, why can't we do it? And of course, when she says that, it gets done. And some years later, we passed a salary history ban, which has been really significant and actually has swept the country in changing that policy. She continues to make such a difference in the lives of women all around New York State. Now, as our Attorney General, I think she needs no introduction. Attorney General,
That's right. I too will be short. I want to thank Bev, of course, and I want to thank Gloria. I want to thank Speaker Adams. I want to thank my colleagues in government and all of the women who make up the administration of the Man Who Gets It, and that is Eric Adams. Listen, the feminization of poverty is real. All you have to do is travel all throughout the state and you will see the impact of individuals, and particularly women who are paid less than their male counterparts. This not only affects the family, but also affects our economy. So this benefits all of us. And that's why it's really critically important that 1, we have more transparency, 2, that we have respect for women, and 3, that we pay them their fair share. This has been going on for far too long. And we have been out here for 18 years. And as Gloria mentioned, there are laws on the books which unfortunately individuals, not only in the public but also the private sector, that are not enforcing it. Well, as the Attorney General of the state of New York, I have a little power. And so it's really critically important that we send the messages to businesses that you have to, 1, respect women, 2, that you've got to pay them their fair share, and particularly women of color who unfortunately are underpaid. This again contributes, unfortunately, to the disparity that exists not only in the city, not only in the state, but all throughout this nation. Gloria has taught us that when you have women who are managers, who are in charge, things happen. And we focus on issues that people care about. We focus on our families, we focus on building out the middle class, and we focus obviously on our economy. This is a benefit to each and every one of us. And that's why we must continue to be out here on the steps, put our heels to the metal, and make sure that individuals obviously are paid a fair share. Equal pay for equal work, not only yesterday, but now and in the future. I stand for women. I stand for equality. We want to basically dismantle all of these disparities, and I will work with all of these individuals on these steps and those who can hear my voice to make sure that that happens in this moment and in this year. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Attorney General James, for all that you're doing to advance women and the people of New York in so many ways. Now we have the distinct pleasure to introduce Speaker Adrienne Adams. How lucky is she to have a super majority almost of female council members to work with.
Thank you, Bev. Thank you, Gloria. Thank you, Tish.
Thank you, Speaker.
This day is interesting because, it's a great day, but it's not so great a day.
Right.
It is a great day that we are standing here, women strong, as we typically do anyway, for this city and for this country. But it is not so great a day that we're here again, and again, and again, because we want our dollar.
That's right.
Show me the money. We're here because women have not seen the money. And I can tell you, as the leader of the first women majority city council, we're going to get it. We are going to fight to get our money.
Yes.
This city council has been very, very vocal about the way that we are moving, the way that we're legislating, the way that we are proving ourselves and proving that we are truly, truly in the front of issues that pertain to women and families and those underserved and those underpaid.
Yes.
We are here to push and fight for that agenda, for the equity agenda, for the equality agenda, for the parity agenda. It's enough already. We don't want to be here again next year, but we will if we have to. We are in for the fight. Obviously, 18 years strong, Tish, Bev, Gloria, you are in for the long haul. We are in with you for the long haul, for however long it takes to finally establish equal pay for equal work. We will take no less. We will not be quiet. We will not sit down. We will not be, as we saw the other night, the lady in the kitchen. Not that there is anything wrong with that if that's what you want to do. But we are standing in our strength. Because we are not buried behind the curtains. We are not veiled behind silence. We are not veiled behind voices of others that want to keep us silent. We are going to continue to raise our voices, stomp our heels, and make our presence known throughout the city, throughout the state, and throughout this nation. Women deserve our dollar. It's the least you can do.
We win! We win! We win! We get paid!
Okay. I really have the pleasure to call up now our council member, Sabina Brooks Powers, who will be talking about some ways that we actually can make this change.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
What do we want?
Equal pay.
When do we want it?
Now.
What do we want?
Equal pay.
When do we want it?
Now.
Thank you. I am so excited to join you all this morning to spotlight such an important issue: women's equal pay. I am proud to join Mayor Adams, my City Council Speaker, Adrienne E. Adams, the Women's Caucus Chairs, Council Members Carmen De La Rosa and Julie Menon, Women's Committee on Women's Chair, Farrah Lewis, my Shiro, my big sis. Y'all know who this is?
Tish?
The New York State Attorney General, Tish James. Power President and Powerhouse, Beverly Newfield. And of course, my sisters in the movement, CWA 1180. Who I, of course, come from the family as a former delegate of CWA Writers Guild.
All right.
Equal pay is about more than just compensation for equal work. It's about the idea that our work matters.
Yes.
That we deserve the same respect, representation, and pay as our male counterparts. Women in the United States who work full-time are typically paid 88 cents for every dollar paid by men. And I know it's been said countless times, but we have to keep repeating it so that people are reminded of how inequitable our pay is to our male counterpart. And those numbers only get worse for women of color, LGBTQ plus women, older women, and of course, working moms. Black women, like Latinas and Native women, make less than others. They average only 69 cents compared to a man's dollar. These cents sound small, but they add up. On average, women lose over $400,000 throughout a 40-year career compared to men. And it leaves us at a severe disadvantage, especially given women make up almost half of the country's breadwinners for families with children. The system is broken. That's why we're here today to carry on the fight for change. I'm proud of how this council has been eliminating the gender pay gap as a priority. We've enacted legislation to increase pay transparency, diversify hiring, and uplift equity. And in the coming weeks, alongside Majority Leader Amanda Farias, I will introduce a bill to strengthen and expand pay transparency requirements. For example, by requiring employers be honest upfront about a worker's benefits. This bill would not exist without the efforts of former council member Helen Rosenthal, the original prime sponsor. She asked me to ensure that this bill was ushered through, and I am proud to honor her request. I am committed to seeing a day when the pay gap is eliminated. This won't happen overnight, but we can ease up. We can't ease up. As the women who have come before us, we must continue the fight such that future generations, children like my daughter, grow up to work in a more equal, more just New York City. Thank you.
Sahar Quadra of Legal Momentum is going to talk about why that law that was just announced that will be introduced soon is so important to the fight for equal pay.
Thanks, Bev. At Legal Momentum, we have been fighting gender-based pay inequity across the nation for over decades. And while we have made critical progress in closing the gender pay gap, especially in New York State, we must be clear on this. We are also failing Black and brown women who are plagued by disparities that dramatically surpass overall figures. These gaps are inexcusable, leaving women of color strikingly behind and often relegating them to severe financial insecurity, including working poverty. We cannot continue to drag our feet. It has been over 60 years since we passed legislation mandating equal pay for equal work. Meanwhile, the women who come to us for assistance cannot access the basic information they need to determine whether or not they are being paid fairly. And the reason for this is because their employers do not have to disclose that information, and they don't. The absurdity in this is that we have outlawed unequal pay based on gender and now other factors, yet employers remain immune when it comes to disclosing the information that would hold them accountable. We need bold and urgent action to disrupt these systems. Over the past 2 years, we have worked closely with Bev and Power New York and partners to advocate for this change. And I'm proud to say that New York City and New York State are now leading a nationwide shift to end our enduring system of pay secrecy by mandating employers disclose pay ranges upfront in job postings. Over a year since this law went into effect in New York City, we can definitively say that pay transparency works. Woo! Overnight, we witnessed employers change their pay practices and workers become stronger advocates for themselves. And the Commission on Human Rights is now going after over a dozen high-profile employers for non-compliance, demonstrating that this law matters and it's going to be enforced. Pay transparency is also disrupting occupational segregation. While women and people of color have long been steered into low-wage work, a new generation is now entering the workforce with basic salary information that for the first time empowers them to make more informed decisions about what jobs, industries, and employers to pursue. For lower wage workers, transparency is helping identify which employers pay a living wage and which ones don't. This is important. But we have more work to do. Despite broad compliance, we continue to see prominent employers post embarrassingly broad salary ranges in an attempt to conceal their pay practices. We need to close this loophole in our law by placing limitations on what constitutes a good faith salary range. To effectively tackle pay discrimination, employers must be required to disclose pay ranges, not just to job applicants, but to their existing employees, so that workers can finally assess whether or not they are being paid fairly, and so that employers have an incentive to change and improve their pay practices without us having to file lawsuits. Our law must mandate disclosure of broader forms of compensation, because for too many women, the most severe inequities arise not just from disparities in base pay, but from bonuses and other forms of compensation. Lastly, employers can no longer tout pay equity on Equal Pay Day while hiding their pay practices. Employers should be prepared to be accountable, to disclose and report their pay gaps and their pay data based on gender, race, and ethnicity. It's coming. Pay transparency is essential, but it's only one piece of the puzzle. To close the gender pay gap, we must value women's work, which means every working person must earn a living wage, and wages in low-paid, female-dominated industries must go up considerably to reflect the invaluable work that women carry out for our communities. We cannot continue to build our economy on the backs of women. We're grateful. We were grateful to Councilmember Helen Rosenthal, who led us in the initial efforts in the City Council. We are now so grateful to Councilmember Brooks Powers for leading us and taking us to the next step. And we are so grateful to Mayor Adams and Attorney General Tish James. Thank you.
Without the work of organizations like Equal Momentum, writing laws and pushing forward, we don't make this change. So thank you so much, Zahair. I have the honor now to bring up to the podium the new co-chairs of the New York City Women's Caucus, Julie Menin and Carmen De La Rosa. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Rev. We are so happy to be here. I'm going to speak briefly because across the street I have a big ULURP land use item that we're voting on right now in my district that builds 146 permanently affordable units, but just as equally important, has a child care facility in the base of the building.
Yes.
I'm thrilled to be here with my amazing co-chair, Carmen De La Rosa, with our Attorney General, our great speaker, our Majority Whip, Sylvina Brooks Powers, and I see we've got two members of the Women's Caucus, Farah Lewis and Susan Zhuang. I didn't leave anyone out. So it's honestly unconscionable that yet again we are standing here, year after year, fighting for pay equity. It's inexcusable. And I want to just say that this is an issue that affects women disproportionately because we also bear responsibility largely for childcare and for elder care. So when we are being paid 88 cents on the dollar, it is totally unacceptable. I want to thank Gloria Middleton and CWA for always leading the charge year after year, as well as Bev and Power. These are organizations that are on the front of pay equity. I can assure you that as a woman-led Women's Caucus, a women's-led City Council under the leadership of our great speaker, Speaker Adams, we are prioritizing these issues. We are not going to sit idly by and let year after year this happen again and again and again. So you've got our commitment. We are in this fight with you. We are going to go to the mat because it's simply unconscionable and unacceptable. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much for being here today. I want to thank Power Her and, of course, our partners in labor, CWA 1180, and the wonderful Gloria Middleton. I've been elected to the Women's Caucus as chair with Julie Menin, but I'm also equally proud to be the chair of the Labor Committee here in the City Council. And guess what? Julie is the Consumer Affairs and Worker Protection Chair. That's no coincidence. When we have women at the helm of protecting workers across this city, we know that we are in good hands. And our speaker has seen it fit to have us serve in those committees. I want to thank you all for the years of service, dedication, trailblazing that path for the City Council to pass the laws that we need to in order to have transparency and equity. But I want to speak about what's happening to women of color. Because as egregious as we see that women are making only 88 cents on the dollar, when we talk about Black women, when we talk about Hispanic women, that number falls to about 34 cents. So what are we telling women of color in our city when we're saying you're not worth that same dollar that your male counterpart is worth? What happens when we take a dollar out of a woman's pocket? We are taking a dollar away from their children, from their families, from their communities, and in my book, that's called economic injustice. And we know that we cannot stay silent in the face of injustice. And so today we gather here, and I agree with Gloria, we better not be here next year, y'all. But we will if we have to, as our speaker said, because we understand that it is on us to blaze the trail for our children and our daughters that are coming up after us. And so I thank you all for staying in this fight. It is a just fight, and we look forward to fighting it with you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. We're going to close with one more speaker who actually represents many issues. Okay. All right, so Blue Carragher, who wears many hats, is going to talk just a little bit about this issue about valuing women's work, valuing the work of caregivers across the life spectrum. Blue?
Thank you very much, Bev, and thank you everyone who's here. I and a number of other people, I think, telling by our hair, have been fighting this fight for over 50 years. And we are on the shoulders of many other women before us. And I can say that the makeup of the workforces around me, the makeup of our leadership has significantly changed because of that work. Work continues and progresses. But there's one area of our economy where I feel like I'm in a time warp, and that is the care economy. We continue to channel women and channel particularly Black and brown women and immigrant women into caring work, caring for the rest of us, for our children and for our elderly and for our infirm. And we give them that huge responsibility that entails long, long hours, and we give them no respect, and we give them no pay that they can live on. In fact, the pay is so low they can't take care of their own families. And this is something that we can no longer accept. Fair compensation for our care economy workers has to be part of the equal pay agenda. In no way that women are going to achieve parity in pay until we tackle the care economy. So there are two major sectors and there are people working in both those. So I have with me today a woman who works in the home care industry. Deborah, would you tell a little bit to the people about what you experience?
My name is Deborah O'Brien. I'm with the New York Caring Majority and Fair Pay for Home Care campaign. I'm a home care worker from the Bronx. I work over 17 years now. First, I want to thank the City Council for passing a resolution opposing Governor Hogan's deep cuts for home care. I take care of a 90-year-old man through the Consumers Direct Personal Assistance Program. This is the program Governor Hogan wants to cut by hundreds of millions of dollars. This man is with the home care. I know when he's not feeling well, I take him to the doctor. I assist him with medication. I make sure he's nutritious with meals and can get to the bathroom safely and do other activities. families. I have always struggled financially due to low wages. And now Governor Hochul wants to cut my wages down to $2.54 per hour. This is not fair. New York State has the largest shortage of home care workers in the nation. Low wages are main course. All home care workers deserve a living wage. Fair pay for home care. Now, thank you. And I just want to say one thing. Governor Hochul, you might never know when you might need a home care worker. Thank you. Thank you.
Right. So this is the deal, that even though our governor and previous legislators put additional money into home care in the past, this year, all of a sudden, cuts everywhere. And there are 180,000 home care workers who are seeing their pay rate, which is already low, cut by over $2. On the other side of our spectrum, we have child care workers, right? And this administration talks a lot at the state level about how much money is going into child care. But child care workers still earn slightly over $35,000 a year on average. It is impossible to support a family or live on that. And our mayor previously referred to the fact that that's an experience that his mother had, right? And the impact that has not just on the economy, but on emotions, all right? So we have to change. We have to fund and properly pay child care and home care workers. Fund the care economy now. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that. That was just thank you for sharing your story. It's the stories of workers. That's what we're doing this work. And and here's a sign there. Wage transparency, we talked about it. See the next one? Fair wages for care workers. Fair wages for care workers.
Yes.
Okay? We're going to call up a union leader on the national stage, Rebecca Damon from SAG-AFTRA, who's going to close us out.
Hi there! Hello, New York! Hello, New York! It is so exciting to be here today with my good friend Bev, Gloria, and now down to this woman, these women, these powerful New York women. I want us to just take a moment and see what's happening here, because I know something. I know that when workers, and we've done a lot of this just lately, come together, we win. When women stand together, we win. But when women, workers, fight together, we win. So I'm going to change a little chorus. Instead of the word union, which you know I love, we're going to add in the word women. Get up, get down. New York is a woman's town. Get up, get down. New York is a woman's town. Get up, get down. New York is a woman's town. Get up, get down. New York is a woman's town. Get up, get down. New York is a woman's town. Get up, get down. New York is a woman's town. This is a convergence of unions, women's groups, and all of these organizations that know that without equal pay, New York is a beautiful place, but we need to make it a fair place, a transparent place, where whether you are a care worker, whether you're an actor, a writer, it does not matter. If you work in transit, everybody here should stand together and everybody should have equal pay. So we will be back next year, won't we, Bev? Yes! But we are going to make this better together. Equal pay!
When do we want it?
Now!
What do we want?
Equal pay!
When do we want it?
Now!
Right, so that closes our 18th annual. We'll see you here, I'm sure, next year. But I promise, one day, we will celebrate Equal Pay Day on December 31st. That means that we're all getting paid equally. Thank you, everyone, for showing up. Thank you, everyone, for working every day of the year, working hard to make New York City great. working hard so that women will get their fair wages, and really appreciate the CWA. It doesn't happen.
I want to thank my Power family, and I want to thank my CWA 1180 family. I'd like to, I thank Rebecca for showing up. I thank Delvani Powell for showing up from the Probation Officers Union. I thank every person, every community group, everyone who was able to come out today. I thank the council, I thank the mayor, I thank everyone who, when I made a phone call, said yes. This is an important issue that is not going away. We are not going away. So I don't want to be here next year, but if we have to, where will we be? Right